welcome everybody. We have 19 people and we are 4 after. So let's get started with the meeting. Uh, today is 16th June, and this is the Meshery development call. And we have a tight agenda here, and mainly we'll be focusing on the next release, the Meshery v.6.0.6 release, and how Meshery is ready to be released. So uh, do we have any newcomers on the call today? Like, if you are here for the first time, then you can introduce yourself to the community. It will help us get connected. Uh, I don't see any newcomers, I guess.
Oh, okay. Wait, do we?
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
You are.
Yeah, Shivam, you are audible.
Hello. Yeah, I'm a newcomer here. I just joined Meshery like 2 days ago.
Can you try that one more time? We couldn't hear you.
Okay. Please do. Please do.
Shivam, your voice is breaking. If there is an issue, you can use the chat
Hello.
to introduce yourself. Yeah, Shivam. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm a newcomer. I'm Shivam Singh. Uh, Currently, I'm doing my undergraduation. Um, and I have joined Meshery just a few days ago, I think 2 or 3 days ago. Okay. And right now I'm learning Golang, and I I have just a few little bit of knowledge of Docker, and rest I'm just learning right now. Thank you.
Awesome, Shivam. Awesome. You are at the right place to learn all this. And I guess we will talk about some of the Meshery projects under Meshery which use Golang underneath. So you can yeah, you can probably jump into some of that. Uh, Nitish, do you want to introduce yourself? Are you new?
Actually, I've been here for a week. I guess I have attended the last week meet itself. So
Okay, thank you.
Nitish, are we counting? Are we tallying up the number of PRs that have been merged? Yours already? Are we?
yeah, I guess both of them were merged. I guess yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are we at 2? We're at 2 count. Is that the thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, not that I'm paying attention or counting or anything, but okay. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so let's get started with today's topics. First up, we have Drew. Do you want to talk about mesh map?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys. So people who are not new here would have been seen in few of the development calls that we show off what we are working in MeshMap, right? It's pretty exciting stuff, but it is usually under construction and there are a lot of bugs over there. So we usually keep it to ourselves. To people who don't know what mesh map is, it is basically a visual topology which we are working on, which would be an extension of Meshery itself, in which there are basically two sides to it. One side is visualizer, where you will be able to visualize what is going on in your cluster. You will be able to interact with a particular pod which you have in your cluster and see the logs and execute commands if you like, and you can run a performance test and stuff like that. And there's another component called designer, which helps you create patterns which you can apply to your cluster itself. Like, this is the gist of what mesh map is. We have achieved some of the functionalities. We think we might be ready to have a alpha release to have uh, don't get very excited. This would be very small number of people who we might give mesh map for them to use and tell us the bugs which they see and for us to improve upon. Like this is people who are participating in this accept that there will be bugs and you will see them. Like don't be surprised about that, but we want to resolve them as quickly as possible and move to have a better UX. And so because of that we are planning on releasing like the alpha state in the next week. So that's the gist of what we are planning over here. This is just a trailer or a spoiler of this is going to happen, and then Friday we will probably have a sign up form or something like that for people to sign up for the alpha program.
So to add to that, if I could, there's a collection of individuals that have been working on MeshMap, and it's one of the and you're all welcome to. It's one of the very few areas of the projects that go on here between Get Nighthawk and Meshery and Service Mesh Performance and what other projects am I forgetting? And all the projects that runs a bit quick, or is the only project in which people don't slow down to explain things. Everywhere else, things get explained, or people get slapped on the wrist for not explaining. So a very warm community in that way. Also, sometimes we go a bit slow because we are trying to make sure everybody's comes along for the ride. Anyway, so that functionality mesh map, the link that was shared in the chat is, as Drew had said, we're ready for people to poke at it shortly. It is in an alpha state. If you do sign up, which you can do right now by putting your name under in the bullet points there, Drew will probably make a call again for people that want to take a look on Friday. There will be an ask of those that participate in the quote unquote program, very light thing, but MeshMap was designed to facilitate any number of tasks that people might want to do with a service mesh, like almost all the tasks, a lot of tasks. I mean, it doesn't do even a quarter of all of what we think that it might do. But of the quarter of things that it does do, the ask would be that if you sign up, that you'll provide some feedback, that you'll execute a couple of user tasks to verify that the software does what it's supposed to do, and just provide some feedback. So it's a fairly light ask, but just know that if you put your name there, there'll be a few questions and a couple of tasks pushed your way.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Thanks, Drew. Yeah, Lee, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm going to mark Samir's name down. So.
Yeah, and I guess Drew will send out the sign-up forms on the community meeting on Friday. So you can join then and put your names down, or even now you can reach out to him via Slack or via chat.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the main item for today's call. So we are moving towards the next release, the 0.6 release, and Meshery has different components, and each component needs to be ready for the release. So we are using this time to track the progress of all these components. So let's get started first with the Meshery. And Utkarsh, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, hi. So this is a quick
Oh,
update.
before that, I think we have another. Yeah, we have
I think
Good.
your
So
voice cut off.
we lost Navendu for just a moment, but Devban Singh, did you want to say hi? Just introduce yourself briefly. It'd be nice to get to.
First of all, good evening to all. Hello, I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, my name is Devan Singh, and I'm a student of second year CSE, Computer Science Engineering. And I read about the Meshery over the internet, and I love it. And I've also read about the containerd, and I'm very much excited to work in this, and I'm very excited to get merged into this community, this the lovely community. And I need a help for these with you all guys. That's all.
Very nice to have you. Thanks for introducing. I
Thank
swear,
you, sir.
I swear you said the word meshmate in there, as you said that you might need some helpful pointers. If you're not familiar with
Yeah,
that,
sure, sir. I need a help. It's a completely new to me actually.
nice. Okay. We'll get,
Before this, I've also worked in the NeoVim.
cool. We'll get you introduced. This is good. All right. And if do you mind sending Devbon a link to the Meshmates page? That way he can pick out his favorite meshmate.
Yep, sure.
Cool. So if Navendu can hear me, he will interrupt me as we go. So we're about ready for our next Meshery release. We're on what the current version of Meshery is v05.23. At least I think it is. And well, there's a couple of things to reflect on here. The project has not achieved a 1.0. So we're not signaling to everyone that it's production ready, that it's, there are aspects of Meshery that really are production ready and have been for a while, and people have been using it for a while, and some of those people are on the call. The performance management area of Meshery is probably the oldest and deepest, most capable area of Meshery. The portion of Meshery that deals with lifecycle management of a service mesh is undergoing a major uplift, which is really nice. And part of that has started back in the current release in v0.50. And part of that is continuing in v0.60. So there's work around service mesh patterns. And that's in part what I'm referring to about the significant uplift of how it is that Meshery does lifecycle management of a service mesh. Anytime that there's a new feature brought forth in a project like Meshery, that new feature needs implemented in a few different areas. So Meshery, if you've seen its architecture, is comprised of any number of components. It kind of depends on your deployment, like what all you're trying to manage. So it could be quite a few components or fewer components. Some of those components include a couple of clients, a user interface, the Meshery UI, web-based, and the CTL, the command line client. And so as new constructs, as new features are brought forth, those things, sometimes they go into Meshery adapters, Meshery server, Meshery command line client, Meshery UI, Meshery operator, Kubernetes controllers. So as such, we're sort of breaking down the areas of enhancement that are happening in this particular 6.0 release. For the most part, what we see itemized here is a collection of the same thing that you would find if you go out to the Meshery repository and cruise on down to the roadmap. This is extraordinarily succinct in terms of how it's described here. it groups things into Meshery and Meshery CTL. It has yet to kind of break out Meshery UI or Meshery operator, but we've done that here in today's meeting minutes. And so what we want to do as an exercise today is to take a temperature check, take an assessment as to the status of individual features that are in flight, and get in some cases a quantifiable assessment of where those features are and their readiness for release, and in other cases more like a gut feeling of where they are. As the project evolves, the more well, rigidity is maybe the wrong word, that has a negative connotation attached, but the more process and that will be wrapped around how releases are done, the more consistency by which they're run, the more consistency by which they were released. So this is what we're doing today is a reflection of the point in time of the maturity of the project. So at some point, the way that we discuss and review kind of release status will probably change, but this is, I think, appropriate for now. So first on the list is back to Utkarsh on performance profiles. If each of you will kind of characterize where you feel, where what the status of these areas is, we'll capture it here and follow up. Ultimately, the goal of this exercise is to try to identify where we'll land the plane, when we'll make the release. Is that tomorrow or is that 4 months from now? Hopefully it's neither of the two. So Utkarsh, take it away.
Yeah, so for just a quick update on performance profiles. Performance profiles has a revamped UI in this version, like the version that's running. The new thing is that we have calendar view and those card flips and those kind of things. The thing that still needs to be done in here is right now there is a nice calendar view. You get to see a summary of all of the tests that you have already run. Something like scheduling still needs to be added, but not right now. The thing that needs to be added in this version is basically so right now the calendar can show you that, hey, you ran these tests, but you cannot get more details just on the calendar. Probably what you would like to have is that you can click on the test result, and as soon as you click, you get a nice summary of the test that you run, probably the same one that we show in other views. So that's something that we still have missing in calendar, at least in this version. In future, we will again have in next versions, we have that you will get to see that what tests you schedule and at what days and on what week they are supposed to be run, but probably something for next releases. That's pretty much it. That is left in this particular version, needs to be done in this particular version. I hope I didn't miss any particular feature in here. Yeah, and I think, yeah.
No, I don't think so. There's a minor touch up to the way that the details are shown. There's two minor touch ups. So one is the way in which the UI will swivel. So I should probably have up Meshery so that everybody can see what I'm talking about. But there's a slight refinement of user experience there, and the other one is there's a collection of there's a relook at how many performance test results administrators can see. So I'll take those two notes, but I think you hit it on the head otherwise, Utkarsh.
Okay. I'll probably move on to the patterns one if performance profile is done. So in patterns, we already have CRUD now. The CRUD is complete. That is, you can create, read, and update and delete all of the patterns from the from Meshery's API point of view. You can you also have a lot of functionalities now available in Meshery adapter for Istio. So you can basically configure the virtual services, envoy filters, and provision lot of operations on Meshery adapter, basically using Meshery adapter via patterns. There are few operations that are still left in Meshery adapter that needs to be done in this release, and that is basically adding basically adding support for other CRDs like destination route, maybe authorization policy, basically all of the CRDs that that Istio comes with, gateways like ingress gateway and egress gateways. So this is something that still needs to be done. Probably this will be also automated. That is, you should be able to run a few scripts or something like that, and it will automatically generate JSON schemas and those kind of things that are required to make a pattern file work. So this is something that still has to be done in this particular release. Other than that, Meshery adapter for Istio is completely ready. If you talk about capabilities registry, this is another construct that was created in this particular release, and that is now Meshery has a capabilities registry, which is basically used by adapters to register its capabilities like workloads and traits and those kind of things. We have concepts like we have constructs of DAG, that is Meshery is capable of orchestrating a lot of tasks for you, which you can provide to it via patterns. So you can write a pattern, and what Meshery will do internally is basically it will create a DAG and will execute all of the operation for you. It will also handle parallel execution of them, basically dependency management in that in some sense. So this is also an addition in this particular release. This is capabilities registry is almost a complete feature right now. One thing that needs to be added there is that right now capabilities registry only supports one adapter. So you can have n number of adapters just for Istio, but capabilities registry will only register one adapter's capabilities and not every one of them. So probably that is something that needs to be added there, and it will be added in this particular release. So I'll add a note that is support multiple adapters. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much it in balance. And I think now probably Aditi can take over if she's here. Oh, yeah.
Nice. So Aditi and Rudraksh, nothing like getting put on the spot. But do you guys want to reflect on these areas?
Yeah, so little bit about the PR. I'd say I'll just post the link in the chat for reference. So little recap on that PR. It was about adding the filter specific config to the Envoy filter resource whenever the apply image up filter operation was called. And this was not generic enough, I'd say. And I don't know if we can extend it to everything. So yeah, I guess we'll be handling this using patterns now. Am I right? Of course.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think this PR can be closed. But you don't need it.
Hi, so I'm sorry I've been a little busy. I'll have to look into this lee-calcote support for like I'll have to take some time and actually look through it. There are a couple of Meshery CTL issues I'm trying to fix now. One is that obsolete mesh config thing, and that system update for skip update for Docker. So once I fix those, I think I'll get to this.
Makes sense. And so just for context, I think for everyone else that the concept of service mesh patterns is actually is what Utkarsh is talking about, and was we gave a lot of, I think the team, you all gave a lot of demos last time we met. Some of those were on patterns, and so go back and watch last meeting's recording. I think if you want to see patterns in action, which is really good. Also a quick note that on the brand new discussion forum, Utkarsh had given 2 training sessions on service mesh patterns with respect to how they get used, how a contributor can use those. So in an adapter, in a Meshery adapter, and in Meshery UI. And so there should be links. Someone might drop a link to those recordings here, but that they're on the YouTube channel. So Aditi, perfect response, by the way, from you with respect to this. I think this is one of those items that we should go ahead and postpone to V070, as well as then the propagation of support for service mesh patterns across the rest of the adapters. Well, providing support for service mesh patterns will be something of a pattern. It will be, by the time that it's done in the Meshery Istio adapter, which is mandatory for this release, it should be a cookie cutter. I'm trying to think of a word other than pattern to kind of stamp out across the rest. So good timing there in terms of your focus. I mean, and Rudraksh actually, it's sort of the same thing. I think is it sounds like Rudraksh, we would highlight this in green, that essentially at least for this particular issue, this item is closed in terms of filter support.
Yep.
That's good. Okay. By the way, for most of you that are on the call, usually there's a lot more demos and graphs and charts and like diagrams to look at. Today, we just so happen to be trying to assess where we're at with this next release. So, but it's a good way to begin to digest some things. If you haven't seen the architecture diagrams, rather, if you haven't seen them lately, as a matter of fact, I've never seen this slide right here. This is fresh as of 45 minutes ago, maybe. So patterns are, we're talking about them right now. They're a new thing that's coming forth. Meshery has an internal database. There's an emergent database schema that tracks patterns as people load them and deploy them. It's a curious thing if you're still learning Meshery that Meshery has a component called Mesh Sync that will discover and keep track of the infrastructure, the service meshes, the applications, the Kubernetes infrastructure that's under management. It interacts with service mesh patterns as individuals, as people might load up those patterns, have them deployed. Mesh Sync will actually rediscover the infrastructure provisioned by the patterns. So kind of an interesting life cycle that goes on. So a lot to parse in these slides. I recommend digesting them, hanging out. We should, is Anita on? We should get a...
I'm here. I'm here.
There she is. There she is. The mesh mate of the month, Anita, I think is. Anita, one of the things that we might want to do is, you had some great ideas about some things that we should be doing in the community that we can do more of. One of those might be, it might be like a session that everyone's invited to, but that we record and post on sort of like a deep dive into Meshery's architecture, potentially. So there's kind of a lot to, so food for thought, like, and that doesn't have to come from me. Like there's a lot of other smart people on the call that have like created this stuff. So if anyone who's on the call that's interested in like a deep dive and a walkthrough there, let Anita iHuman know. And we'll see if we can do that. Cool. So back to back to you guys, back to Abhishek.
Sure. So basically, let me just show my screen. So I'll be talking about how to use the error code utility that was recently been uh, published by Michael, one of our community member. Um, right. I hope my screen is visible.
It is. Although we might have to fine you. I think that's a $2 infraction for asking if your screen is visible.
Alright, so basically, I've updated a block of a piece of instruction where uh, I've added a make command which would like make sure that the error utility is basically updated before you push the changes. This same make command can be integrated with current CI to do some specific CI checks before the PR is getting merged, and also while publishing a build of Meshery. Um, so so that's yeah, that's more or less what the instruction is for anyone who wants to contribute, or anyone who is contributing in a project, a Golang project of layer 5. They will be able to use this make command. If they don't see this make command, it means that it has not been integrated in that project yet, and basically we are trying to push it to most of other. It's a new feature, so we are just trying to push it to other projects to integrate it. And yeah, that's pretty much what the update is.
Cool. And so Abhishek, with respect to readiness for the .60 release, there's a couple of things I think to consider. So one is that the error code utility itself is merged and generally available to all Meshery components. Is that true?
You mean the error code, or the new error coding structure that we follow needs to be integrated in other projects, right?
Right. Well, actually, so yeah. So if you go back to the meeting minutes, I think we can break down this particular area into 3 deliverables, and that's the kind of the focus of today's call is like, hey, what's the status of these things, and how far out are we from being ready to release? So the first one is like that the error code utility itself is complete, merged, ready to use, available to all the components. And is that true or no?
Uh, so we don't need a utility published anywhere, or we don't need a binary out of it. We can directly run a go command using that package. It will.
Yep. Yeah, I understand. No, I mean, okay, good. So I'll answer the question, which is yes, it's completed and it's available for use. That use can be as integrated, like you were just articulating, or it can be integrated into workflows. And so that's good. So status is what we're looking for, and so status of the utility itself is ready. The integration of the use of those new error code, that new error code format. Do you have what's your guesstimate as to how many of the components maybe are using those new error codes?
I don't have a list currently, but I can make one.
Okay, yep, thanks, good. That would be helpful to getting status of whether or not we're ready to release with those new codes. The other component of that is the auto documentation. Now, that might be covered here under the pervasive workflow a pervasive integration into workflows for each Meshery component. But that would be the other thing to follow up on.
Got it. Okay.
To Samir's point, one of the things that we should be tracking here, and I mention it because I don't know that we have one. I think we do actually. Can you grab the issue number that tracks this? I want to make sure that Rodolfo, if he's taking it on, and that he fully understands what to do. I think that maybe the other component to that, Abhishek, is your documentation and examples of how to use it, or how to, rather, if you're contributing, how to use the new function. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this one?
No, that's pretty much.
Back to Navendu.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks, Lee. We are back to Dhruv. Dhruv, do you want to give us an update?
I guess they were
Or
the same topics they got. I
okay.
guess you wanted to talk about that
Okay.
first, so someone I put it up there. You can
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. So we are moving on to Meshery UI, and Abhishek, do you want to talk about the mesh sync?
No, I guess I had marked it as in there is no update on that currently. Can move to next item.
So Abhishek, the goal today is to provide status. So like the status is, it's currently not ready. And then do you have an estimate, like less than a week is really safe for it being ready?
Yes, I'll be making it by tomorrow.
Okay, nice. All right. Back to you, Navindu.
Yeah. Now let's get an update on the dynamic UI management. Ayush or Aditya, are you on the call?
Hey, yes, we are. So right now, there is not much that we could have right now. So this is the PR that has been merged till now. Wait a minute. This. So we have this screen for the dynamic UI, and what we have to do is have it look better. So something we are I and Aditya will be having contact chat with each other and have planned out to how to go through all the things. First of all, the UI that is to be fixed from the styling side would be fixed, and also we will have to contact to someone who is managing the adapters and all, so that we could have tweaks from that side, so that version name and all things could coming up could be sent to the UI in a proper way, so that these could have a better UI. Because here we are what we are using what's happening is that the JSON file is directly converted into a form, so we need to have information from the adapter, so we need to have tweaks from there too.
And just one thing. So apart from, like, the part of this dynamic UI, will the left side pan will be also changed depending upon which service mesh I'm using, instead of showing all the service mesh here?
uh, it will show also that we can navigate to each and every one thing.
But one organization may not use multiple.
Yep. And so there's an open issue for that. That's a good ask, and something that we should do. It is it's a great, you're right that the two efforts are highly related, and that that ask is quite achievable, like within this time frame. Samir, if you happen to have that issue number handy, please do drop it in here, and 'cause I don't know that like Ayush in particular has visibility to or is aware of it, but
Yeah,
it's
I'll
not
put that number here.
nice. Perfect. Perfect.
Is this on for the next release or?
Wait, I missed which one? The one that Samir just said, or the one that Ayush is saying?
The the one that Ayush talked about.
Oh, well, yeah, this is a really good question. It might be a soft land. It might be that. So Ayush, right now, so to answer that question, it might be the case that depending upon how much more time we have left before their release, it might be that we softly include a new version of the management UI, the one that Ayush was just showing, but that's available at a separate endpoint, and that users are made, users are made aware that they can try out the new UI and get feedback, and while leaving the existing one, it might be a way of softly releasing. And so, speaking of which, I believe that, is it this, no, has that released into the latest 0523 release? Or is that not yet available to everyone? It's available in the Edge channel. So if people use the, or Utkarsh, if people use the Edge channel, what's the URL that they can use to try out this upcoming new management UI?
/management/Istio. That's where you would be able to see the Istio management page. So /management/mesh name is where the dynamic UI is. It's not linked on the navigator yet, but definitely is accessible, should be accessible in the Edge release.
Cool. I can't believe I just forgot. You said
/Istio for Istio management page, or in general, it's basically you replace it with any service mesh name and it would be the management page for that particular thing. Right now, only Istio is the one that's working perfectly because it is the only one that supports patterns.
Okay. And so first time that people can touch that. So if anyone's using if you switch to the Edge release, you can try it right now. Right? So, okay, good. I mean, not that there's a lot to try. It's kind of what Ayush was just showing. So it's pretty raw, but the earlier the feedback, the better. So, by the way, can anyone, here's a pop quiz for everyone. I won't write down the answer. Oh, I lost my Zoom. Oh, is no one sharing? Oh, what's going on? How are all of us with ADD supposed to pay attention if no one's sharing something? It's not fair. So here's a pop quiz for everybody. Hey, there's a new feature. Ayush was just saying there's a new UI being worked on. Utkarsh just said it's available here at this URL when you're running Meshery, which I am right now. I'm running the stable release of Meshery, at least as much as I remember. So I'm running, yeah. So right here, what release channel am I subscribed to? The stable one. And I'm running the latest version. Okay, good. And that is the latest version because it tells me that, okay. So if I try to go to that URL, it's not gonna work. I need to switch to the Edge channel. How do I do that? Because I can't click here and that's not available here. So, all right, if anyone can tell me, I'm not sure what we will do, but we will do something. And it can't be an insight, it has to be someone who learned it for the first time. Okay, so you'll tell me in the chat, but great. So who's next? Navendu, do you want to, given the time, do you want to knock out a lot of the Meshery CTL discussion with sharing the command tracker?
Yeah, I guess I will also give an update on the filter CRUD and application CRUD for the UI. So we have Gaurav has been working on the filter CRUD and the application CRUD. So we have both ready. The filter CRUD is also already merged into uh, onto master, and the application CRUD is an open PR. I have recently added support on the Meshery server for it. So yeah, now let's move on to the Meshery CTL stuff. You can see my screen, right?
Oh, that's $2 down. Yes,
Okay,
since you're paying for it.
so this is the Meshery CTL command tracker. So this is where we track the progress of all the Meshery CTL commands, and it can look like a lot, but this is really helpful in deciding what features to be worked on and how far we are along to make the next release and all those other stuff. And we also use it to track bugs and track the progress of the bugs and all the stuff. So for the version 6 release, we have the one of the main features that is coming up is the Kubernetes support. So till now we only had Meshery CTL only had support for deploying Meshery on the Docker platform, and now we have the support for deploying on Kubernetes platform. And these orange cells you can see are issues that needs to be fixed prior to release. And it may be that some of this needs to be updated, but generally I updated this today, and some of these are bugs that needs to be fixed. But we do have working end-to-end working Kubernetes support. Only we need to fix only some UX bugs. And yeah, and moving on to yeah, moving on to the performance profiles. I guess Piyush, correct me if I'm wrong. Like we do have a working perf command, right?
Perf is working perfectly. I'm not so sure
Yeah.
about the SMP part, but rest of the things are working fine.
Okay. So the Meshery CTL perf commands, which is being tracked here, all these commands are working, and we are also I don't know if Jubril is on the call, but Jubril is working on adding a GitHub action which basically wraps around this Meshery CTL command, so that the like a service mesh a service mesh project can use it in their CI/CD pipeline to test the performance of their service mesh. And a few other new commands that were added was pattern and filter. So like the Meshery UI, we do have the CRUD support for both the filters and patterns. And yeah, Piyush has been working on it, and I guess I think it's complete. And the only missing part is that we need to add a deploy endpoint on the Meshery server. So everything is completed in the Meshery CTL part. And Piyush, do you want to talk about the status of the check command?
Okay, so pre-flight checks are completed, and I'm working on the system check right now. However, I have some problems. I was discussing in Slack with that, and I think this will be completed till the end of next week. I'll complete it.
So like okay, so we are not adding it to this release. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I won't be able to work it on right now, like the next few days. I'll work on it after.
Okay. And thank you, Piyush.
Sure.
And yeah, one item that we are missing from pervasive Kubernetes support that we originally intended to have was supporting multiple Kubernetes platforms or providers like GKE, AKS, and AKS. So if Hussaina is on the call, I guess she's yeah.
Yes, Naveen. Yeah,
Yeah,
I couldn't spend much time last month, so I had looked at this the articles available and the libraries available, Golang libraries. Uh, so the thing is, there is a way to list the Kubernetes config based on a project ID. So far, we were using some service account name and the region name as input when we try to config. So that's like very narrowed down thing and whatever specific thing we want to do, right? And whatever articles I found, they do it at project level. So project could have many things. So we need to. I'm still researching on how do we get the specific thing for a given service account and region name kind of thing. I was not able to find those APIs in the Golang libraries. So, and also I am learning more about GKE on how to bring it up. I mean, have one set up for my unit testing. So, that's also taking some time. So, I'm not sure whether I'll be able to make it to 0.6.0. How much time do we have for this, Lee?
Yeah, that's essentially what we're trying to assess. Like, and on this one, it might, I mean, like, first of all, just not to share personal things for Hussaina, but COVID has touched many people's lives. And so, you know, and so I just wanted to say, like, Hussaina, like, it's completely understandable that, that you've only been able to put in so much time on this. So this is one of those things that we probably we shouldn't stop work on, but we should probably plan that it lands next release, such that we're not adding any additional pressure to things that you're already pressured by. One thing we might want to do, well, I don't know. It's hard to tell what's more popular, like people deploying Meshery on GKE, or in Samir's case, like AKS, or like Minikube. There's definitely a lot of people who get their hands on Meshery for the first time using Minikube. And my word, have we had just so many issues with certificate data missing and network connectivity. And so I wonder if Minikube, maybe if we shouldn't try to change priorities. That, I guess a good question there is, Abhishek, on the integration of Meshkit into Meshery server. Does it negate, or that will not negate the need for the same functionality in Meshery CTL? Meshery CTL will still need the ability, or will it?
It won't negate.
Okay. So if, yeah, okay. If Meshery CTL hands Meshery, no. Well, yeah, will it? Like, because if Meshery is picking up, because I'm sorry, thanks. I'm just thinking aloud. Meshery CTL itself tries to communicate both directly with Meshery, but also to the Kubernetes cluster to provision Meshery, provision the operator. So, okay. As you work on some of those, Meshkit in Meshery server, do Do you think that there's overlap and benefit to Meshery CTL?
Not in every functionality, but yeah, like there will be some benefit.
Specifically on what Hussein is talking about?
One second, I'll just.
Okay. So it's it's Meshery CTL system config.
No, I don't think so.
So Meshery will, the functionality that you're building in, Meshery server will not facilitate, it will still require certificate data in kubeconfig, right?
Yeah, it will still require it. I can confirm this. I can reiterate back on this.
Okay. So last, maybe, so there's a couple of other items probably, but the Piyush, the ability for the perf command, the perf apply to work, along with perf list and things, that's imperative. Otherwise, we're going to have a regression issue. And so we do need to focus fairly tightly on getting the perf command going. Do let, if you guys already, if you haven't already spoken with Navendu or Utkarsh, every time that I go to use perf list, it crashes on me. And that might be because I have so many performance test results. So maybe we need to get you access to all those same test results so that you have a good use case, a good test case. Piyush, does that make sense?
Yeah, Piyush,
I'm looking into it actually. When you said that you're facing issues with it, I'm trying to look for something that can be implemented as a pager thing. But I don't have the idea to how to integrate it with our thing. Like we have to fetch every time some set, then I have to page it again. So I'm kind of looking into these things. I'll be working on it very soon.
okay. Yeah, Piyush, like we can give you access to some of the other other performance tests, so you can
I couldn't hear you.
like reproduce the error and test it out. Meshery docs. So a lot of you have been working on Meshery adding and documentation to Meshery CTL command, and Aditya submitted that they are almost done, and I think they will be ready before the next trip. And
Nandu, I am not able to hear you. Can you ping me on Slack?
so can you guys hear me?
I am not able to hear you. Can you ping me on Slack? Like whatever you are saying.
I can.
Okay. Yeah, I will ping you, Piyush, and I guess like we are almost 3 over our time. I guess we are able to cover all the topics for today's call. With that, let's come to an end, and thank you everyone for joining and sharing the progress. We'll see you Friday on the community call. Bye.
Bye, people. Have a great day.
Right.